Have you ever wished your life could change? Most people dream about becoming healthier, happier, wealthier, or more successful. They wait for a big opportunity, a lucky break, or the perfect moment. But what if I told you that your entire life could change because of just one small habit? Today's story is about a young man named Ethan who believed success only belonged to talented people. He thought successful people were born with special abilities that he didn't have. Every day, he watched motivational videos, read inspiring quotes, and made exciting plans, but nothing in his life actually changed. He always said, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow became next week became next month, and before he realized it, another year had passed. His dreams remained exactly where they had always been, in his imagination. One evening, while walking home after another disappointing day, Ethan noticed an elderly gardener carefully watering a tiny plant outside a small house. Curious, he asked, "Why do you spend so much time watering such a small plant? It's only a few inches tall." The old gardener smiled and replied, "Because one day, this tiny plant will become a tree." Ethan laughed and said, "But you won't see any difference tomorrow." The gardener nodded. "Exactly. Real growth is invisible at first. The biggest changes begin so small that most people don't even notice them." Those words stayed in Ethan's mind all night. The next morning, instead of trying to completely transform his life, he decided to build just one tiny habit. Every morning after waking up, he would read one page of a book. Just one page. It sounded too easy to make a difference, but he promised himself he would never skip it. The first day was simple. The second day was even easier. After a week, reading one page naturally became reading 5 pages. After a month, he had finished his first book in years. Without realizing it, he had started enjoying learning again. Inspired by his progress, Ethan added another tiny habit. He walked for just 10 minutes every evening. Some days he wanted to skip it because he felt tired, but he remembered the gardener's words. Small things become big things if you keep doing them. Weeks later, those 10-minute walks became 30-minute walks, and eventually he started jogging. His body became healthier, his energy increased, and his confidence slowly grew. One afternoon, Ethan visited the gardener again and shared his progress. The old man smiled and handed him a small seed. "Plant this," he said. Ethan looked at the tiny seed and laughed. "How can something so small become anything important?" The gardener replied, "Every forest began with one seed. Every successful person began with one decision. Every great achievement began with one small habit." Ethan planted the seed in his backyard and watered it every day. At first, nothing happened. Days passed, then weeks. Sometimes he wondered if the seed was dead, but he continued watering it because he trusted the process. Finally, one morning, a tiny green sprout appeared through the soil. Ethan smiled because he realized the seed had been growing beneath the surface all along. He suddenly understood that people grow the same way. Progress often happens quietly before anyone can see it. Over the next year, Ethan kept building tiny habits. He learned 5 new English words every day. He saved a small amount of money every week. He exercised regularly. He spent less time on social media and more time learning new skills. None of these habits seemed life-changing on their own, but together they transformed his future. 2 years later, Ethan had earned a better job because his English had improved. His health was better than ever. He had saved enough money to start his own small business. Friends who hadn't seen him for years were amazed by the difference. "What happened to you?" they asked. "Did you get lucky?" Ethan smiled and replied, "No. I simply repeated small habits every single day." One day, a young student approached Ethan and asked him the secret to success. The student expected to hear about expensive courses, powerful connections, or extraordinary talent. Instead, Ethan picked up a tiny acorn that had fallen from the now-growing tree in his backyard. Holding it in his hand, he said, "Everything great begins small. Success is not built in one day. It is built one habit at a time." The student looked thoughtfully at the tiny acorn. Ethan continued, "Most people fail because they underestimate the power of small improvements. They want instant results, so they quit before the real transformation begins. Years later, Ethan often shared one simple lesson wherever he went. Never ignore small habits because they create big futures. Read one page. Learn one new word. Save $1. Walk 1 mile. Drink one extra glass of water. Smile more often. Be kinder. Wake up a little earlier. These actions may seem insignificant today, but over months and years they shape the person you become. As you listen to this story, ask yourself one question. What one small habit could change your life? Perhaps it's reading for 10 minutes every day, practicing English for 15 minutes, exercising for 20 minutes, spending less time on your phone, writing down your goals each morning. You don't need to change everything today. You only need to begin with one small habit. Remember, mountains are climbed one step at a time. Books are written one page at a time. Languages are learned one word at a time. Great lives are built one habit at a time. Never underestimate the power of doing something small every single day, because consistency is stronger than motivation, discipline is stronger than talent, and tiny actions repeated every day create extraordinary results. One small habit may not change your life today, but if you continue it tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year, one day you'll look back and realize that one small habit changed everything.